Tovu manayim, shevetahim gam yahad, hine ma 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 tovu manayim, shevetahim gam yahad.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Welcome. I am so happy to be welcoming Shabbat with all of you and to be joined by our special guest cantorial soloist, Jen Jacobsen, who has two special guests with her, her daughters, Ari and Mia. Thank you so much for joining us. And when she's not moonlighting as a cantorial soloist, Jen is the Vice President of Membership and Congregational Engagement for Temple Rodef Shalom. So Jen and Mia and Ari, we're just delighted to have you with us.
Thank you.
And before we continue our service, I wanted to mention that the prayer book will be just above where you see us leading the service. You can click on that, and the page numbers that I will share with you, you'll find in that prayer book. So it is such a pleasure to welcome Corey Amron, who will kindle the Shabbat lights. Corey is coming on behalf of the Board of Trustees, and she is the co-chair of our Strategic Planning Committee. So we continue with the kindling of the Shabbat lights, which you will find on page 2.
Thank you, Rabbi Bernstein. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kishanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Thank you so much, Corey. And we continue our Shabbat service as we welcome the Shabbat Queen, the Shabbat Bride, with Lecha Dodi, which you will find on page 20. And we'll be singing verses 1, 5, and 9. Lecha Dodi.
Lecha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Hishmianu el hamyuchad, Adonai echad, Ushemo echad, L'shemo tiferet v'litila, Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Hitoriri, hitoriri, kiva orech kumi ori, uri, shir daberi, kevod Adonai ali, nigla, lecha dodi, likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekavela, lecha dodi, lecha tova, pene Shabbat nekavela. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam b'simcha uv'sohala, toch emune am segula, boi chala, lecha dodi, likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekavela, lecha dodi, likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekavela.
We continue our service on page 28 with the call to worship the Baruch Hu. And I just wanted to mention that if you are comfortable standing at any time in the service where we normally stand, we invite you to do so. And our prayers, I would say, are prayers that are said and heard, whether we're standing or whether we're sitting. So whatever is comfortable for you, we invite you to do in terms of standing or sitting. We continue with Baruch Hu, page 28.
Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed.
In just a moment, we will continue with the Shema and V'ahavta, which are actually texts that are taken from our Torah portion from this week. And I'll speak about those in just a few minutes. And we say and we chant these prayers as part of our liturgy. We are so familiar with them. And it is text that comes right from the Torah. So we know that this is among the oldest pieces of the liturgy that we have. Now we continue with Shema, which you'll find on page 34, and then we will continue with V'ahavta on page 36. Shema.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchutav Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchutav Le'olam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levacha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu ha'devarim ha'elech Asher Anochi Metzavcha Hayom Al Levavecha V'shinantam Levanecha V'dibarta Bam B'shivtecha B'veitecha Uvlechtecha B'derech Uv'shofchecha Uv'kumecha Ug'shartam leot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot bein einecha, uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uvisharecha, leman tizkeru, v'asitem et kol mitzvotai, v'yitem kedoshim lelohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Asher hotzetechem me'eretz Mitzrayim, liot lachem lelohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem.
Mi Chamocha, which we'll be singing together in just a moment, is a celebration of freedom, of liberation from Mitzrayim, from the narrow places in which our ancestors were enslaved in Egypt, which is the other meaning of Mitzrayim. And when we think of the ways in which perhaps our lives and the lives of so many others have been constrained over the last several months, we know that there are other ways for us to feel free, to be liberated. And it's that we celebrate along with the liberation of our ancestors as we join in singing Mi Chamocha, page 40.
Yai lai lai la lai la 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 lai, yai lai lai la 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 lai, yai lai la lai la 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 lai, yai lai lai la lai la 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 lai. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nehedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osef eleh, nora tehilot osef eleh. Malchutecha ra'u vanecha, hokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, ze Elianu ve'amru, ze Elianu ve'amru. Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nehedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osef eleh, nora tehilot osef eleh.
Achad Ha'am, the Israeli writer and playwright, said, more than the Jewish people has kept Shabbat, Shabbat has kept the Jewish people. And it is that we celebrate when we sing V'shamru, which you will find on page 44.
V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam brit olam. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam brit olam. Beni uvein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam, kishet sheyamin asa Adonai, et hashamayim ve'et haaretz, ve'yom hashvi'i shavad vayinafash, v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam brit olam. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat.
one of the things that is so wonderful and comforting about Shabbat is that it connects us to Jews all over the world, to those who came before us. And as we prepare to chant the Amidah, which connects us to those who came before us, we are comforted to know that just as they confronted challenges, they give us strength to know that we can confront the challenges that face us as well. So we join together in the Amidah beginning on page 46. Adonai sefata tiftach ufi agita hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Page 48. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Velohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Velohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Velohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chastei Avot v'Imahot, Umevi Gehula Livnei B'neihem, Leman Shemo B'Ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Bezrat Sarah, page 50. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye Hakol, Atah Rav Lehoshia, Morid Hatal, Mechakel Chayim Bechesed, Mechaye Hakol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Verafech Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umakayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Bagivurot, Umidom Elach, Melech Meimi Tumachaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah l'chachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye hakol. Page 52. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, ukdoshim b'chol yom, yachalelucha selah, Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. Page 55. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. And may all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Page 57. Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu ba'amcha Yisrael, ever-present one, may we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and in our prayer, wherever we live, wherever we seek you, in this land, in Zion restored, in all lands. You are our God, whom alone we serve in reverence. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otecha levadecha b'yirah na'avod. Page 59, our prayer of gratitude and thanks. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us that is so filled with beauty, and for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us, For all these and more, we offer you our thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulcha na'eh lehodot. We take a few moments now for silent reflection, after which we'll join with Jen in singing Oseh Shalom.
Oseh Shalom Bimroma. Say Shalom Aleinu. Ve'akol Yisrael. Ve'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom Bimroma. Say Shalom Aleinu. Ve'akol Yisrael ve'emru Amen. Oseh say Shalom Aleinu. Ve'akol Yisrael ve'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom Bimroma. Say Shalom Aleinu. Ve'akol Yisrael ve'amru Amen. Ve'imru Amen.
We think now of all those in our Temple Rodef Shalom community, our friends and family members who are in need of healing. And in particular, this Shabbat, we think of Alon ben Barbara, Bela Reisel, David Eliyahu, Hannah Esther bat Kreindl, Chaya bat Devorah v'Yosef, Moshe ben Avraham, Nechama bat Chava v'Chanoch, Yehuda ben Fishel, Jim Asker, Shmuel Barel, Sally Bloomberg, Benifer Devar, Elizabeth Drapkin, Sydney Duberstein, Hannah Elka, Catherine Elrod, Robin Glazer, Scott Higgins, Lois Kramer, Susan Kusel, Eileen Marcus, Rabbi Rob Nosenchuk, Phil Rogoff, and Deborah Roseman, as well as Philip Ross. And I wanted to include in our prayers, and these prayers in particular, our prayers and our thoughts for all those who are helping to care for our loved ones who are ill. And I invite all of us to join with Jen in singing Misha Berach, which you will find on page 253.
Mishe Berach Imotenu V'kor HaBracha Avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
In this week's Torah portion, the Israelites are standing poised, ready to cross the Jordan River and to enter the Promised Land. And Moses reminds them that they have everything that they will need. And really, everything that they will need is summarized in this Torah portion. In fact, if we were to pack everything that we needed, Jewishly speaking, in a backpack, it would be in this Torah portion. The 10 Commandments, as well as I mentioned before, the Shema and the V'ahavta, which are really the Shema and the V'ahavta part of the same prayer. And what Moses tells the people in this Torah portion, and really throughout Deuteronomy, may feel, including the 10 Commandments, as if it's all about what the people should do and about prohibitions. And maybe that's true on the surface, but I think there's more to it than that. And that's what I wanted to share with you tonight. I think that what's in that backpack, what's in this Torah portion, is love. It's all about love. And we begin the Shema and the V'ahavta, this part of our service, with the Shema, which says, "Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai alone." And this is a command. It's as if the Torah is telling us, listen up, Israel. This is your God. And then as we move into the second part of the prayer, the V'ahavta, we are told that we are commanded to love God with every fiber of our being, with all our heart, with all our soul, with all our might. And we are to teach not only these instructions, but this love to our children. And we should remember this love and these instructions all the time, whether we are at home, whether we are away, when we lie down, and when we rise up. And this is really the core for me of what this love is about. The Shema and the V'ahavta are not about faith. They are not about God's attributes. I know sometimes we say the Shema is the watchword of our faith, but it really is not about faith. It describes a relationship that we have with God, the one and only God for Israel. And in fact, Deuteronomy is the first book in the Torah that talks about our loving God. Prior to this time, the emphasis is on obedience and on reverence. And as the V'ahavta reminds us, we are to love God with every ounce and fiber of our being. We are to teach these words to our children. We should have them with us wherever we go. They should be on the doorposts, mezuzah of our house, so that we will always be reminded of this love. And this is not a one-sided love. It's reciprocal. This Torah portion as well says that God did not choose the Israelites because the Israelites were the most numerous of peoples, but that God literally fell in love with the Israelites. And furthermore, that God gave the Israelites the commandments and the teachings because of God's love for us. So the Shema and the V'ahavta are really about this covenantal relationship, this love that we have with God and that God has for us. So you may know also from the words of the V'ahavta that it's customary to say the Shema before we go to sleep at night and when we get up in the morning. And over time, the Shema and the V'ahavta became part of the morning and evening liturgy in Judaism. And most of us, of course, are very happy to join with the Shema and V'ahavta in services, but I'm wondering if we might consider adding this practice of saying the Shema before we go to sleep and when we get up in the morning. And in fact, there's a whole beautiful, special Shema, bedtime Shema, which includes some wonderful imagery of the angels, Michael, Gabriel, Uriel, and Raphael, who surround us as we go to sleep. In the name of Adonai, the God of Israel, may the angel Michael be at my right, the angel Gabriel be at my left, and in front of me the angel Uriel, behind me the angel Raphael, and above my head the Shekhinah, the divine presence. So as we say the Shema, whether it's in services, whether it's before we go to sleep, when we get up, we're reminded that we are surrounded by love if only we open our hearts. Shema Yisrael, if only we listen. This feeling of love is so beautifully captured in this poem by Marge Piercy. V'ahavta, so you shall love what is holy with all your courage, with all your passion, with all your strength. Let the words that have come down shine in our words and our actions. We must teach our children to know and understand them. We must speak about what is good and holy within our homes, when we are working, when we are at play, when we lie down, and when we get up. Let the work of our hands speak of goodness. Let it run in our blood and glow from our doors and our windows. We should love ourselves, for we are of God. We should love our neighbors as ourselves. We should love the stranger, for we were once strangers in the land of Egypt and have been strangers in all the lands of the world since. Let love fill our hearts with its clear, precious water. Heaven and earth observe how we cherish or spoil our world. Heaven and earth watch over whether we choose life or choose death. We must choose life so our children's children may live. Be quiet and listen to the still small voice within that speaks in love. Open to that voice, hear it, heed it, and work for life. Let us remember and strive to be good. Let us remember to find what is holy within and without. Shema Yisrael. Listen, Israel. Shabbat Shalom. We continue with the closing prayers of our service, Aleinu, which you will find on page 282.
Thank you, Rabbi Bernstein. That was beautiful. Aleinu l'shabeach le'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד ארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינת עוזו בגבהי ממרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא ויהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
As we prepare to say the Mourner's Kaddish, we think of all those we've loved who are no longer living, how they helped to teach us to pass down the words and the love of our ancestors and their love to us. And in particular, this week, we think of those in our Rodef Shalom community who are in the period of Shloshim, the first 30 days of mourning. We think of Janet Bronstein, the sister of Jill Bronstein, of Alan Rutchick, father of David Rutchick, of Blanche Cohen, one of the founding members of Temple Rodef Shalom, of Arthur Sandberg, father of Laura Sandberg Fano, and Barbara Allen, the mother of Randy Allen. In addition, we remember those of our families, our loved ones, whose yahrzeits we observe this Shabbat. Elsie Adler, Richard Amron, Reuben Ben-Choam, Albert Barajas, Israel Berman, Geraldine Blumenthal, Yetta Breitner, Connie Cohen, Leo Deshevsky, Joseph Davis, Sidney Fiddleman, Herman Fisher, Kathy Gaines, Judith Gimbel, Sid Goldlust, Gerald Goldman, Jerome Gutkin, Richard Harmon, Harry Hochstein, David Honigstock, Robert Lee Horowitz, Harold Hyman, Louis Isaacs, Joel Jacknow, Lena Cass, Noam Katz, Edith Kaufman, Eleanor Kitteverd, Norma Kosarin, Lillian Kramer, Peter Crone, Lily Crew, Sylvia Latkin, David Lelchuk, Dorothy Lyon, Peggy McGuff, Barbara Michelle, Jacob Murove, Daniel Perlberg, Judy Perlstein, Jack Pettit, Sarah Petrone, David Rose, Ricardo Rosenblatt, Rona Roth, Beatrice Rudin, Anita Sachs, Rosalie Sauber, Doug Schneiderman, Walter Schwartz, Lambert Sebastiani, Stanley Seidel, Alma Simpson, Ann Skegan, Frederick Smith, Arthur Smith, Simon Smoker, David Strassler, Arnold Turetsky, Perry Warshawski, Norman Warshawski, Edwin Whitman, and Samuel Winarski. We join together in the Mourner's Kaddish, which you will find on page 294 and also on your screen. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach yirhutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon uv'yomechon, uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agola uv'izman kari v'imru. Amen. Yehi shemei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalel shemei dekudesha brichu. La'ela minkal birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechemata da'ameran v'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehi shalomo rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Zichronan levracha, may the memories of all of our loved ones always be for a blessing. So we hope one day soon to be back in our sanctuary. And if we were in the sanctuary, we would be inviting at this point our wonderful B'nai Mitzvah students to join us in Kiddush. But they are not able to do that at this point, but we want to honor and give them a hearty mazel tov. Tomorrow, Sam Hunter and Western Boarding, there they are, Western Boarding, will be called to the Torah as B'nai Mitzvah. So we wish you mazel tov and mazel tov to your entire families. And we invite everyone to join with us in Kiddush, which you'll find on page 5.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon hinkilanu zikaron lema'aseh bereshit ki hu yom tehila Lamikra Kodesh, Zeher Litziat Mitzrayim, Kivanu v'acharta ve'otanu kidasha mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. Amen.
L'chaim.
L'chaim.
L'chaim. So before we close with a little bit of a benediction, which I'm actually going to do before the closing song because it leads into the beautiful closing song that Jen has chosen for us. Jen, I want to thank you so much for leading services with me this Shabbat. Such a pleasure. And Ari and Mia, to you as well. What a wonderful joy and treat to have you both with us. I want to thank Corey Amron for lighting the Shabbat candles, and also want to thank Laura Rosh, who is our tech person. It takes a village to make this happen, and Laura, we thank you so much for being our tech person, making this service possible. So before we have our closing song, which will end our service, Olam Chesed Yibaneh. Olam Chesed Yibaneh is about building a world with love. And may we build this world from love, from the love that surrounds us, from the love that is inside of us. Olam Chesed Yibaneh. Please join us.
Olam Chesed Yibaneh, da 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 da. Olam Chesed Yibaneh, da 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 da. Olam Chesed Yibaneh, da 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 da. Olam Chesed Yibaneh, da 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 da. I will build this world from love, da 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 da. And you must build this world from love, da 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 da. And if we build this world from love, da 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 da, then God will build this world from love, da 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 da. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everyone. Shabbat shalom.